Hey everybody, welcome to the Unknown Room episode 3. And today I'm joined by Serena DeJesus. Serena, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And you seem to be like a popular person within the Twitter community, and a lot of people have been requesting you to be on here. So I think it's pretty cool that we actually got to make that happen for them.
Yeah, that's great. It's like, oh, me, popular? Oh. Do the
Yeah.
whole thing like, is this fame? No,
Well, eventually we're going to get there. But for now, I would like to start off by asking you a few questions. My first question for you is I know that you grew up in the city of Philadelphia, where I'm from. So just tell me, what does Philly mean to you? Like, where were places that you used to go a lot? Like, what are some places around there that mean something to you? And we'll get into some slang later.
hmm Philly is a place where there's tough ass people who fight over parking spots in the winter and just are absolute lunatics, but are fun and welcoming lunatics. And I've always loved that kind of environment. Places I always used to go were one of my gyms in Philadelphia on Second American, Henzo Gracie, Philadelphia. I'd always go near Fourth and Washington. I'd always be going to South Street, just having fun with friends and stuff like that. Um, that or I was hanging out in University City getting good food to eat or whatnot. Or I'd go to Northeast Philadelphia where all the banging Korean food was.
And
So
what's your cheesesteak spot?
I like Shanks down in South Philadelphia. It's right next to where the Coast Guard base is. So it's like this cute little shack nearby, like on the pier. But I love their cheesesteaks and I love their cheese fries. So I'm a fat girl at heart.
And how do you feel about tourists when they come down and they either go to Geno's or Pat's?
I want to strangle them. It's I either save them from their horrible mistake, and if they don't want to listen, I'll just straight like, shh, come over here, just be quiet. Let's go over here. It's like I'm warning you not to get shit from both shitty establishments that are also borderline racist, in my opinion. But that's another story for another day.
I think the new tourist spot is Tony Luke's now. Like that's where everyone's going.
Mm-hmm.
I guess between those, I don't know. always a Delasaro's guy, but a lot of people don't
Good
really know.
choice. Good choice.
Yeah. So let's get into your relationship with Roxanne, because a lot of people know you're like almost like a dynamic duo at this point. You and Roxanne Modafarri in the UFC. So when did you guys become so close? And do you even feel like anything that she's a female pioneer for women's MMA? Like, do you feel that connection with her, or is it just friendship based? Like, you guys just inseparable?
So I met Roxy. So every summer I'd take what I call a traincation. So 2013 I was in Simbi Muay Thai because I was doing Muay Thai fights before I did mixed martial arts. And I wanted to go again in 2014, but there are political riots, people throwing tear gas at each other, beating each other. I'm like, motherfucker, I am not going into a war zone, a borderline war zone in Thailand. Fuck that noise. So I messaged Roxy as a fan on Facebook. I'm like, hey, so this bullshit happened. Can I please come train with you? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. Because everybody always asks to train with her. They never show up. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's my itinerary. I got my flight. She's like, wait, you're coming? I'm like, yeah, it's happening. And then I met her. She picked me up from the airport. She's a total sweetheart.
Yes.
And we just clicked. We love anime. We love our video games. We love fighting. So it was just like, when we complimented each other, we just became best friends. So after that, I always had my fight camps out in Syndicate and I'd fight back in Philadelphia or other places. So, but yeah, she's like a big sister to me, honestly. She looks out for me. She's learned about me and my autism and how I can be. So, and she's adapted to it and she's been very supportive of it. And yeah, we just become inseparable because we just help each other. We kind of help each other where we might, I don't think shortcomings is the appropriate word, but like we fill in the gaps for each other. Like someone's being a dickhead to Roxy, she just morally can't bring herself to curse. Meanwhile, I'm like, motherfucker, get your ass in this gym so you can catch these fucking hands, shit like that. I'll curse for her. Like if someone cuts her up in traffic, I'm like, you dickwad, or I call him a cunt cake, all sorts of shit. Or my personal favorite when someone cut her off and I was like napping almost, is like, you cock juggling thunder cunt, and then everybody in the car is like, oh my god, Serena. I'm like, they fucked up. I have to say something, right? So, and then when I need to be rational and calm, she kind of helps me out. And she's filled in a lot of the holes in my game. Like when I first met her, I mean, I had a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, I've done Muay Thai fights, but when I first, she was throwing me around like a chew toy. She threw me around like how she threw down Antonina all over the place in her fight in St. Petersburg. So that was great. I learned from it. So now I can't take you down unless you're super fucking tired now. I'm like, I grapple so I don't have to grapple. And if I take someone down when I grapple them, they fucked up. Because my one finish on my record, I actually choked out a jiu-jitsu instructor. My second
There,
amateur MMA fight, I actually tossed a girl with a cow catcher. So it's like, I can grapple. Just try and test me.
and it's like it's wild because not only do you guys like complement each other personality wise, but you also complement each other fighter wise. Like she's the grappler, you're the striker. So I'm sure your sessions together are always crazy. And I know
If we
like
ever do it, yeah. If we ever do that fusion dance in Dragon Ball Z, we'll just be like one giant unstoppable fighter. Her wisdom, my just overall physical strength, like we will murder everyone. Here's to
and
hoping.
I was gonna say that's actually how I found you. Like that's how I knew who you were, because I used to watch Roxanne's videos on YouTube, and I seen her fusion with you, and I was like, huh, Serena, and that's how I actually found you. Then I found you on Twitter, and it's just weird how you guys are both so approachable. Like you guys are like the nicest people. And I know you said like she really helps you out with like the autism thing, and I want to get into a few questions about those later, but I know you also mentioned you used to have a lot of weird like amateur fights were in like wild places. So I just want to talk about the fight that you had in Utah a little bit deeper because I know that it was like a wild time. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so what happened was I had like five girls drop out. Like I would have a fight, they drop out. So I'm cutting weight on and off, and I'm just getting so irritated. I'm like, so at this point, I'm like, motherfucker, if someone else drops out, I'm not cutting weight or fighting until next year. So some random fan found me that they're looking for a fight in Utah. I'm in Las Vegas already training, just waiting for someone to catch these hands. So I'm like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'll take this fight. Utah's not a far drive, ish, I think. So we go to Price, Utah. But before the drive up there, so I'm Jamie Moyle and Roxy are my corners. And 2 days before the fight, I find out the girl is deaf. And I'm like, so I called my mom, a little kind of fucked up. I'm like, Mom, I don't know how I feel about hitting a deaf woman. She's like, keep in mind, my mom has no filter like me, so prepare yourselves. My mom's like, well, Serena, I think she has no problems hitting a deaf woman, or maybe she will, but just look at it this way. It's a short bus cage match. It's going to be fine. I'm like, Mom, what the fuck? And I have her on speaker, so my strength and conditioning coach, Norm Turner, hears it. And this dude is big. He looks like the mountain, like who decided to just settle down from Game of Thrones, who decided to settle down and have children. He's laughing so hard, like I thought he was gonna fall over. And so we take the drive up there. The cage is in the ballroom of an Italian restaurant. Like the cage is this close from hitting the ceiling. And I'm like, how in the shit did this get sanctioned? So I'm like, I'm having my opponent come over trying to talk to me and saying how, with her interpreter, how inspiring it is that I'm autistic and fighting. I'm like, hey, look, it's inspiring you're deaf and you're fighting. That's amazing. And the fight happens. It is like in the middle of oil rigging, coal mining, redneck country. Like, right, like I'm seeing somebody as soon as I walk up with like four beers, like two in each hand, trying, where my rednecks at? I'm like, fuck me sideways. What is this? So the fight happens. This girl is tough. Like I'm hitting her with shots I thought would drop her. And at one point she physically shoves me. I fall on my ass because she's a grappler. I'm like, oh fuck. I back roll to my feet and I'm like pummeling on the fence to get her off. And she's hitting me and like she's the first person to make blood come out of my nose. So between rounds, Jamie squeezes my nose. I see blood. I look down. I'm like, she made me bleed my own blood. I'm gonna fuck her up now. So I come out, I start swinging. I hit her with this overhand so hard. She stumbled and she, what I call cheese grated herself on the fence. Like she just like right in the fence. And whoever, I don't know if anybody here has ever cheese grated themselves in the fence. It is not fun. That shit hurts. But I'm just swinging. She will not go down. So whatever scientist said you lose one sense and the other ones don't get enhanced, they can go get hit by that broad because she is tough as nails. But I won the fight by unanimous decision somehow. Utah's weird. They allow no head kicks, but everything else is okay. I'm like, motherfucker, you just at the time you just took 50% of my game away. She could eat a head kick. She'll be fine. I promise. Like, but yeah, I just kept low kicking, body kicking, having to hop on one foot backwards in the cage and all this shit. But I landed more strikes and I just did more work and I got the win. But oh my God. But because this is Mormon country, there was like almost nowhere open to eat. Like everything closed at like 9 p.m. So there was one diner that was open. I'm like, oh, thank God. And all they had ready, because it was just one little guy in the diner. I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I don't even want food. So I just had a cheesecake and I had a orange shock top, you know. So now that's like my thing. Every time I'm done a fight, I just want a beer and I just want some sweets.
How long did you stay in Utah after that? And like, what was the attendance in there for that?
The attendance was very small. It was like maybe fitting like 50 people at the most because like this is a small ballroom. This is just like the most backcountry thing I've ever seen, but it was a fun time. And I liked the promotion, so it was whatever. It was a good time. The promoters treated me right. They took care of me. They took care of Roxy and Jamie, so that's all I can ask for. But yeah, we pretty much dipped as soon as we could. Like the morning after we dipped.
Is Roxy like somebody that's always in your corner, or you see her being in your corner throughout the development of your entire career? Like, I know one day you probably you know, eventually go to Invicta and then from there go to a bigger promotion. Does Roxy seem like somebody that's always going to be in your corner as like one of your main partners?
Absolutely. So like almost every single fight I've been into, except my debut, obviously, she's always been in my corner. It's just been her and always someone else. But most of the time, it's my head coach John Wood and her in my corner, and I appreciate it because I'm hearing everybody's voice anyways, given my autism. But I'm able to pick out at least their voices because I hear them so often. So I try to have people whose voices I'm familiar with in my corner. And Roxy and John like the top two people.
And with those fights, like I know, like you turning pro was a really big deal. I don't even think you felt how big of an impact that it actually made, like throughout the social media community. But a lot of people were rooting for you. Like a lot of people know that you have the skill set, the talent, you have the fan base to really make noise and like promotions like Invicta. But what do you think is the biggest difference in opponents when you're fighting an amateur versus when you're fighting in pro fights?
So an amateur, like you have a half and half chance of finding old tapes and studying opponents or knowing even who they are. Like maybe I only knew like maybe three opponents. I've only studied tape maybe three or four opponents in my whole career, um, if that. And even then, those videos were like potato quality and just like old fights. Anyways, it really didn't make a difference in my game planning. But in pro, you know who's who and what's what, and that was okay. So I was enjoying that a lot. Like, you know, as a pro, knowing what I'm getting into kind of. But to me, it honestly doesn't matter as long as I'm A, being paid. B, it's a competitive fight. It's not like they're feeding me to like some giant 20-2 female or something like that. It's so in my experience and whatnot. I'm not being fed tomato cans. I'm fine. I mean, I'm here to fucking fight people, not just prance around and be like, oh, look at how good I am, beating a can or be fed to the wolves. Basically, I want to have competitive fights because I win, the fans win. That's what matters.
And speaking of like your ability, like I said, it's well documented. We know you have the skill set to fight in Invicta. Do you see that as like a goal of yours in the near future, or do you feel like that's something that you're ready for right now?
Hell, I'm ready for it right now. I was at my debut fight. I was actually supposed to fight Lisa Spangler, but for whatever reason, she didn't fight me. So instead, for my pro debut, I fought Kelly Clayton, who also claimed that Lisa Spangler did not fight her, like backed out of fights with her. finally those two got the scramble, which was a fun little scrap to watch. But me and Lisa Spangler got a bet if we fight in Invicta, like the winner has to buy pizza and drinks. So I'm like, I'm a cool person. I just want to fucking fight people. And I know that Jillian Knowles looking at me with her saying that she can beat me, but I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade, but some respectful shade. I would prefer she beats the scale first before she even has her name, my name in her mouth. We fought. We were all me, her, another fighter who just got done. Why am I forgetting her name right now? Jessica Borga. We were all on the same card in Fusion Fight League when we were all still amateurs. Jillian Noel came about, it was like 8 pounds overweight or something like that. I'm like, what the shit? Because she's younger than us. I'm 27. She's like in her early 20s. And I'm like, if you honestly think you're going to beat me, beat that scale first, then we can talk. So I know both of them have their sights lined on me, and I'm like, bring that shit, you know? So it's a matter of time. Like Invicta, I would love to fight for them, but we'll see if they love me first. Because there have been talks about, oh, they want me. And I'm just like, say when. I get it. I mean, I'm here. It's not like my address changed or I'm unreachable. I'm literally on every social media platform at Serena Southpaw. And they know my coach because how many fighters in my gym have gone through Invicta? Jamie Moyle, Roxy, JoJo, like everybody in my gym at one point, or even former teammates with Jessica Rose Clark, they all have gone through Invicta. They know where to find me. So it's just a matter of when.
Do you think it has anything to do at all with the autism? Or do you think it's just like something that's just not in the cards yet, but could happen in the
I got
future?
no idea. I got no
Because it,
idea. And if they really are worried about the autism thing, well, when a smaller promotion takes a chance, I mean, I do well, and it's the point they want to make me one of the new faces of the promotion. I say I'm doing really well here. It's not like I'm not aware of what fighting is and what it can do to me. You know, I know what it is. I know what can happen to me in fighting. It's fine, and I'm doing well. What is it like? Other people wander off would be like, "Oh, I just got beat up by an autistic girl and shit." Like, look, if anything, it's the opponents who actually, in a sense, have more to lose if they fight me and they lose. Like, oh, I just got my ass whipped by an autistic girl. What the shit, guys? But it's fine. I'm fine with it. I'm fighting neurotypical people all the time, and I'm doing relatively well. I would like to say.
yeah, I would say you're doing well too. And it's like, not only do you have the skill set to really like make a name for yourself, like you're just like talent, your game is fan friendly. So like people,
Exactly.
you have the fans behind you, you have the skill set. So it just doesn't make sense why Invicta wouldn't be ready like right now. And not only Invicta, like you're probably ready for top level talent in other promotions, UFC, Bellator, whatever it may be, but you definitely have the skill set and you definitely have the training under John Wood and all those other talented people at Syndicate. But um another
I'm gonna
question I
stay
wanted to ask
humble.
you.
I'm gonna stay humble. I think honestly I still need to build myself up in regionals before I even think about UFC or anything. Because that's the thing. I mean, as an amateur, I guess I was like, young and dumb, thinking, oh, I win a few amateur fights, and then then Invicta will scoop me up, and I win a few there, and Invicta, and I can go to the UFC. Unfortunately, the fight life is not always a straight line. It's very zigzaggy, all turned around and shit, and that's what I'm finding out right now. Because I was told that if I won that pro debut, I was going to get a contract to Invicta, and a year later, it hasn't happened. So maybe there are some lapses in communication, maybe things happen, but I'm still here and willing and ready to fight. And I've got some things hopefully in the summer that are coming together because I've got some offers, but it all really depends on when it's happening, where it's happening. Again, is it good pay? Is it the opponent? Before me and my coach sign off on it.
And do you think you're finding difficulty finding opponents at this stage in your career right now as a new pro? You're undefeated, so it's like you're on the rise. People know you're in a weird spot because people know your name for sure. So I could see why other girls would probably not want to fight you right now at this stage because you could probably knock them out of contention for them being Invicta one day. Especially you have somebody so skilled that's still not there yet. So you're probably a big threat to them.
Well, if that's the case, they're a bunch of pussies. Let's just put it out there. Look, in my amateur fights, I have fought everybody. I even fought a girl who's Courtney King, who's normally a featherweight. I didn't know she was normally a featherweight until afterwards. I'm saying, fuck it. I didn't win that fight, but I got fight of the night because we just basically beat the shit out of each other for 5 fucking rounds. Like, I didn't quit. She didn't quit. Everybody fucking loved it. And that's the kind of thing I bring. Don't fucking quit. Just keep swinging and keep fighting. And that's it. Invicta wants that, or any promotion wants that. They know where I am, and that's what I am. If you're not wanting the good fights, as another female fighter, you are selling yourself short. You will be exposed, and I don't want to be exposed like that, just fighting tomato cans or lesser beings. I want the challenge. I want to grow and have the confidence knowing with each fight I take on, I am growing.
And that's cool too. I often wonder, like I knew you were a long time MMA fan as well before you even got into the game. And I've been searching the internet and I don't think anyone has ever asked you who are some of your favorite fighters of all time, people that maybe you mimic your style after, or even just inspirations that you have in the fight game, because I know for a fact, yeah, we see the Mirko Cro Cop shirt. He's also one of my favorites too. But I know that you were a fan of Roxy before you guys even became friends. I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted a list of maybe some MMA memorable moments for you, some of your favorite fighters, like what got you into the game.
So when I was a little girl, I was kind of nonverbal. I really didn't speak much. So for me, my reward for getting, good grades, like, passing my spelling test and shit, is every Friday night, me and my dad would go get videos from the video store. So I got my old school anime, like Record of Lodoss War, Appleseed, shit like that, while dad would get UFC VHS tapes. And so I'm also big into Tekken. I was also big into Street Fighter growing up because PlayStation was life. And I come down one day and I'm watching the fights. I'm watching Gary Goodridge crucifix and elbow this other dude to death, and it was awesome. Like, oh, because honestly, the transition looked like something like King from Tekken, who was my favorite character and still is my favorite character at the time, would do to somebody. And I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome, and also like some Power Ranger shit too to me. So it was kind of like a daddy-daughter bonding moment. We'd watch fights. So I watched old school UFC, Pride, Elite XC, Strike Force, all of it growing up. And yeah, my favorites were Gary Goodridge, obviously Kimbo Slice, blessed be his name. He left us too soon. Um,
Way too soon.
yeah, Sakuraba, because he was fun. Crow Cop, Fedor Emelianenko. Roxy, I love to death because I didn't get to see too many female fighters. I actually saw her because of the anime, like her, doing her thing, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my god, she's one of us. Because back in the day, all the MMA fighters, like, they were always like so big and tough, like Also, Tom Lawler and Don Frye are also one of my favorites. So having Tom teaching wrestling is always a fun time. Um, so when Roxy came around, because this is when I was like, coming out of middle school, going to high school. At lunch, I'd be like jumping over the firewalls at school to watch YouTube, and I'd be watching all her fights and stuff, and her little posts she makes. It was awesome, and that's how I got to know Roxy. So of course, I fucking flipped shit when I saw her make it to Tough 18. I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna do the thing. When she lost and she was crying, I was fucking crying. Like it I already knew, like, in time we were gonna have a bond, and yet here we are. If someone told me 6, 7 years ago my life would be this, jumping from Philadelphia to this, I would have thought they were like on K&A having that good shit. But nah, this is life. See, I can crack this joke with you, and you know what this is. Meanwhile, everybody else listening, like, where the fuck's that?
Yeah, they're a little lost right now, but we'll let them do their own research.
Hmm.
I just feel like we will we'll jump into some of the autism questions now because a lot of people know that's kind of like your mission right now, fighting for autism and fighting for other people that are on the spectrum. First, I would want to know what are some of the biggest misconceptions about people that do have autism? And I know that there's many different kinds of autism, and not every case is the same. And I know a lot of people from the outside looking in tend to group everybody, with autism in the same light, but what would you find is the biggest misconception just through people that do not have autism?
The biggest misconception is that people think with autism we're all of a sudden like we're feral and we're like headbangers and we attack people and we can't go to school. They think we're the cases where we're the adults in diapers and shit like that. When in reality, they focus on us as kids, but they never focus on what happens when we grow up. The services end, the help ends, the sympathy ends, all that shit. So they all think we're some sort of pity case when it's not always true. Yes, we will need help in our lives. I needed help, but I didn't need any ABAs or anything like that. I had a dedicated family and I had a dedicated social worker who helped me. And my parents still help me, like if I'm having moments and shit like that. But I'm independent. I pay my bills, I do my stuff. I do very adulty things that neurotypicals do. The only things that are different is like, my sensory issues, my brain is wired differently. Like all the other noises y'all can filter out in your head, I don't have it. So I'm hearing feet shuffling in the gym, I'm hearing the lights buzz, I'm hearing everything. So it takes me that much more extra energy to focus on what I need to do and who's talking to me and all that stuff. And that's why, like, for example, I wear earphones everywhere like these, and I wear my hat because I also got light sensitivities that I contend with. But with my use of CBD oil, everything's been a lot easier. Um, yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, I went through some difficult times not being able to communicate with people and being over medicated by, psych doctors. Because I'm a child of the 90s. Everybody had ADHD. It was in the water, it was in the food. Fuck it, ADHD. Oh my God, it's scary. So they put me on Ritalin at age 4, and I had hives. And then they diagnosed with something else, more meds. Diagnosed me with something else, more meds. Different meds. It was like they were playing Dr. Mario with my fucking body, and it was horrifying. It would make me depressed. It would make me hostile. It would make me gain weight into pants I can't fit into now. That would be too big on me as a 27-year-old when I was 12 years old. And it wasn't until I was in a mental health facility that a shrink was like, I want her off all these medicines and I want to observe her for a week. So they did. They observed me what I was doing. I wouldn't be playing with other kids. I'd be playing with the Legos. Like this shrink in particular would always say, I wish I could throw this child into an 18-wheeler full of Legos just to see all the cool things she could make. Because that was my thing, and I still love Legos to this day. But it wasn't until then, she's like, she's not any of this. She's autistic. And this is early 2000s when I was 13. Everyone's like, what's autism? But as my parents and I read all of that, it's like, oh my God, everything makes sense. The sensory issues I have, it's not me. For the longest time, I thought it was me being a weakling. Like everybody was dealing with all these sensory issues, but I was the one who couldn't adjust. And learning that it's not an everybody dealing with this thing. It's me and a few other people who have autism. It was such a weight off my back. I'm like, oh my God, this is okay, And I started learning more about myself, learning more about autism. And it wasn't until I started fighting that I started talking about autism because I was still taught of that mindset because of society. Like, if you're different, you're wrong. If you have something up here, you're wrong. Thankfully, that kind of stigma is starting to go away. But it was like, if I don't tell that I'm autistic and my mom agreed with this, somebody else is going to find out and they're going to spin it their way and take away the freedom I have to talk about it. So I just said, fuck it, I'm autistic. And everyone's like, what? Because, again, the stereotypes with autism, they think they're unathletic and uncoordinated and shit like that, which I was at a point. I was toe walking, I would trip over my own goddamn 2 feet as a kid. But now I'm doing the most complex movements in the world fighting. So, yeah, when I told everyone I'm autistic and a fighter, they're like, oh my God, this is like almost not a thing that they thought would happen, but here it is. And everybody, thankfully, on the Twitterverse, just in social media, have always rallied behind me because, like you said, I'm approachable. Because as someone with autism, I don't have that extra time for a fake persona. Like, I won't do this Colby Covington bullshit. I can't do it because he's just a fucking dork who sits by himself at the PI whenever I see him there and just doesn't say anything to anybody. I have no extra time for a persona. I'm just real. I say it how it is. So, and everybody who's met me, who, in person, when they meet me on Twitter or Instagram, like, wow, you're the same. I'm like, yeah, basically. So that's my thing.
And one thing that I wanted to touch on that you actually already mentioned, already mentioned most of the things that I wanted to talk about. But one of the things is I have a cousin that's autistic. He's 8 years old, and I know that it's constantly something that's always being misdiagnosed. Like
Hmm.
that is a huge problem when it comes to that. Do you know any other people that where they've had to experience that too, just being misdiagnosed, and how long did it actually take for them to diagnose you properly?
So I went from being diagnosed as ADHD at 4 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism at 13. So all those years in between, I was misdiagnosed and basically force-fed medicine from doctors. The doctors didn't give a shit. My parents, they trusted these guys. They went to school longer than them. I don't blame my parents for what happened. I blame these fucking doctors who are thinking nothing of themselves, getting kickbacks for getting people on these medicines. So I know of another person. He's actually a teammate of mine at Syndicate. He's also a pro fighter, also on the spectrum. Um, he also said he also was talking about his horror stories. I'm not sure if he was misdiagnosed or not, but I know other autistic people who talk about they were misdiagnosed and locked up in mental health facilities, and the insurance money would they were all for the insurance money, so they would keep holding them and drain all the money from the insurance companies. So there's a lot of horror stories with autistic people before they're diagnosed, and sometimes even after they're diagnosed, because they also have coexisting conditions. Like some, because they're mistreated for being autistic, have generalized anxiety disorder. They don't want to talk to people because they've been treated like people like shit in the past, like I have. The only difference is I would actually just throw a bitch off the jungle gym when I was a kid, when I was mistreated. But other autistic people are like not like that. Like me, and I have two other siblings who are autistic in my family. My little brother, both me and him have the same killer instincts. He's a giant. He's 6'1", 190 pounds, freshman varsity wrestler, and he's 15 years old. He has the killer instinct. My sister, who's 17, not quite. She is more girly than I am and stuff. She trains too, but she freezes and she's just so loving and sweet. But when she hits you, she hits like a fucking gorilla. I just gotta work on that killer instinct. But even in families, autism is radically different.
And I also know that you mentioned that CBD helps a lot. That is something that a lot of people praise by, and I wanted to know, like, I know it helps a lot with the sensory issues, but when you couple that with like routines and other different things that you can help to, lessen the anxiety, is there
Hmm.
like anything that you would recommend to other people that are on the spectrum, or do you think that it's an individual case by case thing? Is there something that you would be able to recommend to other people that have autism, and ways to help that are, not having to go through the pharmaceutical route, or do you think it's just individually different case by case?
While things are, I believe, are individual case by case, but what is universal is that autistic people need to find a group of supporting, caring people. The reason I besides my love of MMA, the gravitation toward MMA and the gym specifically I chose in Syndicate, I literally packed two giant duffel bags and moved my whole life in Philadelphia over there, is because of the supportive environment. For artists in fighting, we have people on the same mission as us, so we don't feel the pressure to communicate with them. B, we have a set routine, classes at this time, and this time. And C, we're getting up and doing the same thing every day, repetitive motions, like AKA drilling a new move or something. So for me and a few other artists I know, fighting is great. But I also know other artists who are great gymnasts. They find the same support and love and routine and fit in gymnastics. So my overall thing is, for autistic people, find a support group in something that you love to do, a niche that you have, anything, writing, just making sculptures and stuff. Find a support group that loves you and that you feel welcome in, and that'll be all you really need, honestly. That's my thing.
And I think doing research on you, I think I came across it said the type of autism you have is Asperger's. Is that correct?
Hmm. It's
Uh,
correct.
I would could you explain that a little bit for people like me who don't really understand exactly what that means?
So Asperger's is kind of now outdated. The new DSM book that comes out, so Diagnosis Statistic Manual version 5, I think it is, big psych thing. Don't worry about it. They've now lumped all the autism variants into one. They just call it autism spectrum disorder. So for me, I hate using functioning labels. I'm going to put this out there, but for the sake of helping understand, they would put me at higher functioning than say other types of autism. Personally, autists like myself and others don't really like functioning because it's saying like you as an adult, are you a high functioning adult? Do you do adulty things? Or are you a low functioning adult where we got to take care of you and shit like that? It's kind of not fair. But for us, like I had a hard time socializing. I honestly didn't really have too many friends till high school because of an anime nerd, and I was a power lifter. Because powerlifting is pretty much a solo activity. You know, you just know how to lift the weights, and then you're good to go. And I was that big, fat but strong, heavy power lifter in high school in the anime club with all these stereotypical nerds who at first thought I was in the wrong spot. Like, is she supposed to be here? Slam all my manga and like Sailor Moon folders on the desk. I'm like, let's talk anime. And they're like, oh. So I was kind of like, I kind of had that nickname of Defender of the Nerd Herd, being that big, fat, strong power lifter. And it
I might
went
be able
from there
to use that
basically.
later.
Yeah, and from them I started talking, but as high school ended, they had to go their separate ways, and I was kind of left alone. But when I got into MMA, training and everything, I found that whole connected, unity again with other people. So that was my thing.
What do you think your biggest challenge has been so far with autism and MMA? Because I have a lead up question, but I want to know has there been any instances where, maybe it overcame you or you feel like it was just too much at that moment?
There are times. There was one time I overstimmed before a fight, and it cost me. Um, it was just I went from like a regular show, like maybe 100, 200 people, to a show where there was like about 15,000 people, and it really just got to me, like the light, the noise, and everything. At that point, I wasn't prepared, and it cost me within 10 seconds. But it was all right because the year after, I redeemed myself and I got a belt in the same promotion, the same arena, and it was 17,000 people that time. And I got to wink at the girl who got me while I was beating up her best friend because I wanted to fight her next. About ready to call her out on the mic. It was after that instance I researched CBD oil for autism and how it helped with my sensory issues, and I started CBD and like the mental fog lifted, the anxiety lifted, the racing thoughts and the overthinking I do on the spectrum just was gone. Like everything was lessened, and it made life more bearable. So that's why I stick with CBD. At first, I panicked because a few years ago they still had CBD on like the illegal list for USADA, and a lot of MMA promotions, even AMI, try to, especially here in Vegas, try to follow the USADA guidelines. So I'm like, oh my God, do I got to get an exemption? Because like for my opponent, for example, who is deaf, normally you're allowed two people in the corner. Because she's deaf, she was allowed a third who was her translator. I'm wondering, I'm like, do I need to get a get print out my psyche eval and just say, hey, look, I'm autistic, and here's the lab results. The CBD, I'm not taking weed. If I take weed, I smoke it in a wooden pipe because I'm a classy lady anyways. So here it is, guys. But thankfully, as I was still amateur, they made CBD okay for usage, and so I'm just upfront with the promo. It's like, hey, this is CBD. Here's the lab work. No THC in it. Are we cool? It's like, oh yeah, you can take it backstage with you. And I'm like, okay, cool. If you guys want some and try it, you can try it with me. But yeah, I have my CBD like literally right before my fight sometimes, walking into the arena, and then I just put the bottle away and I'm good. I feel great.
And do you think that will translate well to bigger promotions? Because I know like the production value increases, and you start to get to like a lot more people and a lot more lights, noise, and all kinds of just extra stuff that's not focusing on the fights exactly. Do you think the CBD will help you there, or is that like something that you even think about with the advancement of your career?
I don't even think about it. I mean, honestly, that fight I took was bigger than a lot of regional MMA shows. currently. I mean, the only bigger show that could be that last amateur fight I had in front of 17,000 people would be the UFC. I mean, we look at the regional shows like Invicta, Titan FC, LFA, stuff like they aren't 17,000 people in attendance. So I think now that I got that out the way and I kind of remember how that feels, I think I'll be fine even without the CBD oil. If I forget.
And one last question about autism in general. Um,
Hmm.
what would you say to other people right now that have autism and are looking for different ways to express themselves, whether it's through arts or martial arts? Like, is martial arts something that you feel like is almost in a way not a cure, but something that's for sure definitely going to improve their lives?
It's therapy. I mean, no, training is not a cure for me, but it's the best goddamn therapy out of anything I've tried in my life. So like I said before, my thing is that with my peoples on the spectrum, find something you love and do it. Just take a shot and do it. If it makes you feel happy, if you enjoy your life with it, fuck it, do it. If you want to go build like a fuck ton of Lego sculptures, do it. If you want to be like, break down movie videos and stuff on YouTube and stuff, do it. Do what makes you happy first because people may not always be there for you, but you got yourself. So take care and love yourself first and your needs, and then go find people who share what you love and then connect.
All right. And I mean, that sounds like a good lesson to everybody out there. And I think with that, we're going to jump into some teammate questions about some of your
Ooh.
teammates at Syndicate. So the first question I'm going to throw out there is, I asked Roxy this question as well, but I want to see if your answer is the same or maybe different. Which one of your
Okay.
teammates at Syndicate do you think has the coolest array of techniques in their arsenal that they use like in training all the time, whether it be like spinning techniques or just like they've mastered like weird techniques in training, but we haven't seen them use them in fights yet on the big stage?
I'm gonna go. It's a tie between my teammate JoJo Calderwood, because she's just constantly getting really good, and Natan Levy. He's Israeli fighter. He fights for LFA. Natan is a black belt in karate, and he also does a lot of kung fu, like legit kung fu. Not that, oh look at me, I'm this overweight 300-pound guy. I learned taekwondo, jeet kune do from watching Bruce Lee's movies or shit. Like no, he knows the real deal shit. And just seeing it in training, it's like, wow. Also, actually, no. Also, Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis is also a good one. Like, he just moves in such a way. Like, I like lightly worked with him because I know this dude could like probably piece me up in 1,001 ways. I call him Anchor Arm Senpai, like SpongeBob, but he's got like the anchor arms. And but he's been boxing since he's 12. And he's great, good movement. So when he complimented me on my move, I'm like, so yeah, those are who I think have the best skill sets that we have, that people need to keep an eye on in fights whenever they're fighting.
And Roxy said JoJo too. JoJo is actually somebody I want on here eventually as well. But we will go straight into the next question. The next question actually is coming from when I was talking to Roxy, and I thought this was very interesting. I asked her, who was the team DJ that got the team pumped up when you guys were training? But then she mentioned AJ Matthews likes to play love songs during training sessions.
Sometimes, but he also takes requests. So I'm big into Logic and Run the Jewels. So whenever I ask him to put them on, he puts up the most fire tracks they have, and I'm like, thank you, because I like rock too, but I really love RTJ and Logic. So Roxy doesn't like rap; she detests it. Okay, but to be fair, she likes the rap music sometimes I put on because I don't put on that shit where that mumble rap bullshit where they're talking about lean and drugs and they're just uncreative lyrics. I put on things like Killer Mike. I put on Logic. I put on rap, like I put on Brother Ali. I put on shit that actually has rappers that have meaning to their shit. So she tolerates my rap choices. So when AJ puts them on, it's great. John normally keeps control of the playlist, but We have a teammate who's actually a DJ too, Patrick Cornett. We actually came up together on this MMA reality show. But this dude is like, when he moves, like when you're playing Eddie Gordo on Tekken, you're testing out the buttons, he's doing all these flips and shit. That's Patrick Cornett. So if he's not doing all this crazy acrobatic shit, he's cutting some fresh beats himself.
And I think Roxy also mentioned there's somebody at the gym that they call the Monkey King.
Yes, that's Jordan Levitt. He doesn't do music choices, but he moves awkwardly. He's like the Black One Punch Man because every time he has a fight, he shaves his head. But we joke because he's literally only thrown one punch in a fight, and all his other fights have been wins via submission. Like he won his pro debut by fucking Peruvian necktie. Who the fuck does that in MMA? Peruvian necktie? What? It's like I give up. This kid's too much.
Yeah, I think you guys have a lot of like names at Syndicate that are going to make big waves on the pro levels. Like there's going to be a lot of people that you guys have, like the crop of talent that you have are going to be like title contenders. Like you guys have super talent. Um what's a fighter at Syndicate that you could see after their career maybe transitioning into becoming like a coach or something like that?
Definitely Roxy. She's got a really keen eye for detail like myself, which is another reason we get along. Um, who else? I'm thinking about it. Probably Chris Curtis, because he's always like what he always like tries to take care of us little guys. You know, the fighters who don't have as much experience. He's always looking out for people. So I think he'd be a good one. Um, yeah, that's who I can think of right off the top of my head right now. I probably would think of more a little later, but I'm on the spot, so I can't really think more.
Is there anyone at Syndicate where you would say is like maybe like a prankster or someone that's like ever pulling pranks on anyone?
I don't think prank. Okay, JoJo definitely fits the bill. Like between her mooting everybody on Instagram and shit like that, and when she ever gets on top of me, she always jokes, "Oh, I'm gonna fart." I'm like, "No, fuck you!" Trying to scramble out all that shit. So I would think, and she tickles me because I'm
And JoJo's
super
always
fucking
making
ticklish.
cameos in everyone's interviews.
Yeah, like shaking her ass
Yeah,
at
every time.
Roxy's interview and shit like that. It was awesome. But yeah, she also like tickles me at times, and I am a ticklish motherfucker. So and I'm like, no, stop, and shit like that. So JoJo, I think, would definitely fit the bill as the prankster of the gym.
And like do you have anybody at Syndicate where you would say they're like not really like a teacher's pet, but who do you think is constantly always in there, like always reviewing film? Like who's the person that, I wouldn't say takes it the most serious, but who has like the most technical eye and is always like in the training session rooms, always studying?
I don't know, quite honestly. I mean, I know I study a lot. Like when John is showing a move or AJ or my other coaches, I'm not watching the move itself. I'm watching where are the feet going? Where are the hands going? Where are the hips? Are they close? Are they far? Is the knee in the belly? Is the knee near the person? Is it not? Where are the forearms? Like I'm missing the forest with the trees half the time. So John or whoever's teaching always has to show it like 5 times so I can get the overall picture after I'm done nitpicking the gritty details of the technique. Other than that, I
And
don't think anybody else does that like me though.
what do you think the addition to AJ to the team has done to like elevate Syndicate?
Oh man, the morale is great. Oh, he's like always yelling. He's just a fun dude, and I love his Muay Thai style too because I love to kick the shit out of people. He loves to kick the shit out of people. We both have very boisterous personalities in the gym, so we kind of click. And he's got the best mustache in the game, 100%. Like no one else has a mustache like him in MMA, so go him. Um, but with him, we also have two other additions. We got Neil Mellinson now as a wrestling coach. His grappling style is amazing. It's simple, it's evil, and it's heavy, which is what I love my grappling style to be. And we also have Patrick. I forget his last name. I'm horrible, but he fought DC once. He's also a really good wrestler and stuff. Also an amazing mustache. It's just the mustache crew with Neil's guys. It's awesome. It's like Never shave those mustaches or I'm crying.
And
It's true.
I wanted to know also, I have two more questions for you, of course. Um,
Hmm.
if you were to have a message to the brass, the fighters, the fans of Invicta FC, what would you say to them right now?
I'd love to come if you guys want me. I like to fight. I'm not going to be those people who would like nitpick their opponents. I just want to fight people. Just give me a shot, I guess. I know the fans want to see me. Like I have fans who are like canceling UFC Fight Pass, not wanting to see Invicta till I'm getting signed. I mean, I bring a lot of eyes on things, so take a chance on me. I'm fun, and you guys also have my number, so text me or call me.
And my last question before we get out of here is there any sponsors, any friends, anybody you'd like to thank before we wrap up?
So I'd like to thank all my coaches and my teammates at Syndicate MMA. I mean, they've always been great to me. I'd like to thank my sponsors, like especially the Healing Panda lately. Their CBD stuff is great. I'd like to thank my strength and conditioning coach Lorenzo. But yeah, all my sponsors have helped me get here so far and haven't abandoned me. Keep my eye on you guys. Thank you for the ones who have not abandoned me. Um, yeah, just thank you guys, and I'm hoping to fight sometime this summer. Oh, I'm also going to Otakon with Roxy to show stuff. So if you guys are in Washington D.C. or can get to Washington D.C. late July, please come down. We do cool shit. You guys love cool shit, so why the fuck not? And yeah, that's it. You guys can follow me everywhere on social media at Serena Southpaw.
Serena, so far, definitely my favorite episode. I'd like to thank you for coming on. I'm sure I'm going to have you on again because we're going to talk about that convention, whatever it is.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have you again. Hopefully, you'll be in Invicta by then. And also, JoJo, come on.
Yeah,
JoJo, you gotta
I'm
come on
actually making
here.
a trip. I'm making a trip to Invicta actually on I leave Tuesday. I'm cornering my friend Manjeet Kolkar for the tournament. So either way, Invicta's gonna see me.
So best of luck to you on the rest of your career and what you're doing in Invicta in the future. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Shocked if this fight went the distance?
Unknown MMA. Everything you don't know about MMA.